What's up, friends? Eric Crumbaker coming at you from Real Estate and Shit, episode number 20 something. I can't remember, but we're still rocking. We're still rolling. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe below. Turn all the alerts on for our stuff. We've got some good content for you. I've got two amazing guests today. You know, I've got Stacie Crumbaker, and so welcome, Stacie Crumbaker, to Real Estate and Shit.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And then next we have on the roster, we have the Chris Fox. What's up, Chris?
How are you?
I'm great. How are you guys?
I'm good.
I got both of you on today. It's nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice.
It's been a long time.
It has been.
This is the most excited I've been to be on here.
Ooh.
Really?
Because I feel like in the past I was getting more comfortable, and every time I used to always say it's like going to the dentist. Like after you get done, you're like, that wasn't bad, but like
now you're more
it's hard to volunteer for.
Yeah.
Today was the first time when you posted. I was like, pick me.
Quick.
I was like,
you were quick.
I was pumped. I was
Just
excited.
so
I feel like
just so you know, I had like 6 personal text messages from other people after, and I was like, it's filled. It's filled.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, right after you did, I sent him a personal. I'm like, let me be on too.
You were right after, and then it started trickling on. So but I'm happy to have you guys both here today. We have a lot of great content to talk about, so it's nice to have both of you here. So I mean, we are in the fourth quarter. We are all I'm sure if you're watching this, you know as well. We are in the 8% territory, 8% rates.
Yep.
I called this, and I was talking to my wife about this last night. I called 8% over a year ago. Okay. But I said it as like an extreme scenario that I actually didn't really think would come true. So the fact that we're at 8%, like it's not
like
one
sarcasm.
Yes, so it's not one of those I told you so. It's like one of those, oh fuck, we actually are at 8%.
I have an 8.5% interest rate on my house, and I thought that was high, and now I'm just a national average.
You have an 8%?
8.5.
What? When did you?
Yeah.
When was it 8%, 8.5 that you got?
Yeah, it's a whole other story, but I bought my house a year ago, and I had to get a certain type of loan.
Wow.
I plan on refi-ing. And
In what, 4 years?
so now my rate's the national average. So I'm sitting pretty.
You're sitting good right now. All right. Well, what do you guys feel like? What's the temperament right now in the market? Are we so fresh into 8% that we really don't have a good feedback of what the market's doing? Because I know the market's been consistent over the last couple months, but what do we see in the next month? Now that things are at 8, are the phones, calming down right now? What do you guys see?
I'm seeing buy downs come back again, and like the 2-1 buy down. I'm seeing a lot of like seller concessions coming back again, which we didn't see that for like the past 8 months.
Interesting. Seller concessions are back.
Yeah, seller concessions are back, or agents calling to ask if the seller would be willing or open to financing the buy down.
Oh, like taking a note?
Mm-hmm. No, the buy down.
Oh.
Like coming in for a little bit of a higher
Like
price.
a seller credit.
A seller
Correct.
credit, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, what about you, Chris?
Yeah, what about you? What are you seeing with this 8%?
Yeah, I mean, if the past is any indicator of what we're going to experience, I think we're going to have a lot of time with our families over the holidays.
That's the truth.
Yeah,
I can see that.
Yeah.
Okay. So 8%, we're not really too sure exactly how we feel about it yet.
I've been telling all my clients that this is the time to get a deal. Get the deal right now.
Well, that's what Chris is saying. We were at a mastermind in LA this morning, and Chris actually, I think you said this specifically. You said, this is the time. There aren't a lot of buyers out. Buy.
Yeah.
And Carrie said the same thing. She's
Buy.
like, a couple of years ago, people were paying $100,000 over. I'll take 8% over paying $100,000 over the long period of,
all day long.
It makes sense.
Yeah,
and
all day long.
It's about
Get the deal.
It's all about framework. It's why we started this podcast, because the narrative in the market and what you read across the headlines, it's the gloom, the sky's falling. I've seen so many 8% headlines over the last week. It's just like, since 1995, we have not seen interest rates this high ever. Like, run for the hills.
Everybody's desperate to associate today's climate with something we've already experienced.
Correct.
And I think that's the disconnect is we're in uncharted territory. To the best of my knowledge, I don't think we've ever experienced.
I think you're right. There's a lot more equity.
When this happened in 2008, there was a ton of inventory. And we're totally seeing something different right now.
And banks weren't lending.
Yes.
Correct. Mm-hmm. And now it's exact opposite.
They're not even in the same.
So
compare the two.
So now that we feel that there's we know there's a positive sentiment for certain people that can buy, should buy. This, I heard that guy today, Michael. I kind of liked. He did speak a lot, but one part that I did like, he said, the leaders are buying. And then there are the followers who are on the fence. And you have to distinguish right now in this market who's who and service the ones that are the leaders that are participating, and the ones that are on the fence holding back, let them be them. Let them do what they need to do. They're probably not going to come to the table, but we should put our focus on the leaders, which makes a lot of sense.
Sure.
So going to the fourth quarter, what do we feel like? What do you guys sense going into the fourth, into the next year? And I'm going to name off a plethora of things, and I'm not trying to do gloom, but I'm just trying to put some reality out there. And I'm just kind of understanding what you guys think, because I actually sent exactly what I'm going to bring up to you two, to my real estate mastermind group, and their response wasn't exactly what I thought I was going to get from them. And then there were some side responses from other people that obviously didn't want to say something in the group, that we had like side chats. So I'm interested to see what you guys say. So we're at 8% rates right now, okay? All-time low inventory, okay? Inflation, all-time high. As much as they say that inflation's, nationally, it's close to a 3%, inflation's is high as heck. Everything went up but our wages. We had the Ukraine war that happened with Russia. We now have what's going on in Israel. We have China and Taiwan. There are so many factors right now that I think are up in the air that makes things uncertain in the future. We have a new election coming in the next 4 or 5 months. That's going to be all over the news. It's going to be everywhere. It's probably going to be one of the most televised elections prior to the last election, because it's the same two fucking guys. So it's going to be just craziness over these next 16 months. What do we see? Like, are rates going to still remain high? Is the market going to improve? Are we going to potentially walk into some crazy conspiracy World War III? Does that affect our housing market? If we did enter something like that, like, what is ahead in this bubble that we're seeing right now? And I'm trying to even wrap my mind around it, because I'm always a positive guy, and I still think there's a lot of positive things happening. But what do you guys feel?
Well,
that was a lot, I know.
Yeah. It depends. I mean, I feel like life's all about perspective and mindset.
True.
And I've kind of buried myself in my little happy bubble. I've mentioned this before. And I have my blinders on, and it allows me to go out and be the best version of myself and kick ass every day.
Yeah.
So I choose not to focus on that stuff.
I like it.
And I think there's a certain amount of buyers and sellers that probably have the same mindset, and they're going to live their life in their happy bubble, and they're looking at designing their life. Like, I don't care about the outside elements. Like, I'm designing a life, and I know what I want, and I'm going after it. And nothing can get in my way from that.
And do you feel that working for you?
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, no, my life's by design. It's not by accident. I knew what I wanted, and I've been chipping away at it little by little.
Take note of this, guys. This is amazing information, in my opinion, wisdom. Able to put the blinders on, not look at all the shit that's happening in the market, not focus on all the headlines and articles. You're focusing on what you're designing, and what you're designing is your business and your life and your family. And nothing else matters. And I think you attract that type of funnel that keeps those blinders on, where you can continue to focus on what drives you going forward. So I love that, Chris. Nice.
I think a good example is you, Stacie. I mean, look at what you've done this year. There's so many agents out there that are like going back to whatever industry they were in before real estate, because there's no ability to make a living in real estate.
True.
You can't do it. Interest rates are 8%. Like, the market's going to crash. Like, they can't find a way to make a living, yet Stacie has the year of her life, and she's on track to exceed 50 transactions in a year.
Crazy.
And that's insane. In the same environment, well, not the same environment, because these people aren't at Human Element, but in the same
market
industry, in the same climate as Stacie, and they're jumping ship.
Correct.
So I think that's a testament to mindset, perspective, and the ecosystem that you work in.
Yeah, I agree. I think that when you were listing all those things, I started to feel myself go.
I saw that, actually.
Like,
I saw you quell.
I did. I got really scared. I got like really freaked out for a minute. And then Chris, this amazing, incredible man of a man here, he's like, I have the blinders on. I'm like, you're right.
But I want to interrupt
it's gonna be
you.
Okay.
But I want to interrupt you and say, but could you imagine if that's what your office environment was every day?
It would be horrible.
Can you imagine if you did go to the office and there were actually humans in your office?
Correct.
If that's what everyone was talking about?
Yep.
How successful would you be being surrounded by that?
You would not.
Because you just listed off like 20 items, of which 19 I didn't even know occurred. So, you know.
It's true. Yeah.
So, I mean.
It's what you surround yourself with.
It's really important who you surround yourself now more than ever, especially going into whatever you just described.
Correct.
Yeah,
You know?
and then I agree with Chris. Like, instead of like dwelling or thinking about all of these really scary thoughts and really scary things happening, you know, focus on the way that you are designing your life and working on the systems that when, you know, at all this, because everything will pass at one point. It will all pass, and things will be things change, things transition, things pivot. But put yourself in a position that when they do pivot, that you're in a good position. So, you know, Chris is really working on a lot of his lead generation for the future and getting himself set up with systems. And I'm doing the same. You know, I'm getting myself set up now, so when I do pivot or things do change, I'm ready to go. I can get out of the gates going where everyone else is going to be like, it's like exercising. They haven't exercised, so their muscles are not going to be like working.
Yeah.
So they have to run out the gate. They're like,
We're already going to be at a sprint.
yeah, we're going to be like, boom, 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 let's go.
100%. This happened in 2010 and 11 and 12. It's the exact same thing. We're just gearing ourselves up, staying ahead of the rest. Everyone's floundering. We're getting ready for war pretty much. We're just getting ready to be ahead. I mean, it's gonna be a race again, and it's gonna be whoever has the best horse at that time. And we're all literally just breeding thoroughbreds. So it's nice to see. And you're right, Chris, to bring up, you know, like someone like Stacie, and there's other people like Stacie as well who've had, you know, you yourself, everyone here has had a decent, good year. Like no one's like blown it out of the water where it's like I'm on top of the mountain screaming, beating my chest. Yeah. Like we're in a different market now, you know. We're in a market that if I surpassed last year, that's a fucking plus, you know. And I think that money is being exchanged every single day, and people are leaving the market. But if you're surrounding yourself in an environment where there's people that are the objection to the alternative to the rule, what's the exact terminology? The something to the rule. No one knows what I'm talking about, Brian?
The exception?
The exception to the
the
rule.
exception to the rule, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then also I feel like a lot of people are like, you know, like, oh, let's not spend any money, let's not do this. And like when it comes to our business, I think we're doubling down.
You have to double down right now.
We're like spending so much money on our business right now.
It's scary how much money I'm spending on my business.
Yeah,
Same.
me too.
Same.
Me too.
I'm increasing my staff, my overhead,
Same.
everything.
It's scary.
Is going up.
Less money to the family, more money to the business. But it's pretty. You know, we had a meeting with our CPA yesterday. I'm looking at the P&L. It's like, holy fuck. You know, like.
Double down.
What are we, you know, we've got the fourth quarter, we got next year, you know, how do we continue to keep going and going and going, especially when you have to double down right now when it's getting tighter and tighter, but you have to because there's no other way around it. If you want to stay ahead of the rest, what everyone's hiding right now, you have to forge forward.
Yeah, you get more bang for your buck the way that I see it because there's so many people exiting the industry.
Correct.
That those that are investing in there, you know,
they're seeing the fruits.
Their marketing, it's about becoming famous for me. Like I left Tom Ferry and I'm like, I want to become famous. I want to be the most famous agent. I want everybody to know me.
Yep.
And if they like you, they'll buy for you. So my whole take is like, I just want to expose myself. I want more exposure.
And you're doing a really good job at it.
Thank you.
Are. Yes.
But I mean, so that's my investment. And right now it's easier to get that spotlight.
It is.
You know?
It is. And the best part about this, you're right. And the best part about this, when this market changes and everyone catches on what you're doing, you'll already be 3 steps ahead. You'll be on to the next thing and the next thing. You'll always be 1 step ahead. It's a beautiful thing to be, you know? All right, so going to this next topic, you know, it's really funny. I was just reading the article right now, and I was actually blown away. I didn't realize today was the day. Today was it was yesterday. It was the first day where the big lawsuit happened with buyers' commissions, and Gary Keller and Gino Belfari and a couple other people had to sit on the stand and talk about why they feel a buyer's agent's commission is justified in a seller's contract when they are selling their home. So it just, in my opinion, my question to you guys is, what's the fate of a buyer's agent? Like, do you guys know enough about what's happening in this lawsuit to know, like, where do you guys feel the fate of a buyer's agent is over the next 12, 24, 36 months?
I mean, buyer's agents play an extremely important role. I mean, I couldn't imagine being in a market where listing agents control the outcome for both parties. And I don't think that would ever happen. But I mean, buyer's agents are extremely, especially if you get an amazing buyer's agent.
Yeah.
You know, what they're willing to do to protect you and go to bat for you and look out for your best interests.
Yeah.
You know, you always have to assume the listing agent's loyalty lies with the seller.
Correct.
Always.
Always.
Yeah, I feel like in order for anything to be a smooth transaction, you need to have everyone's needs and wants met. And I feel that with sellers and listing agents, that's their goal. And I feel like every buyer needs to be protected and make sure that their best interests are.
One of the arguments in this lawsuit is this, because there's actually like 3 articles below it. And I actually thought this was fairly interesting as an argument from the prosecutor to the defendants. And one of his arguments is, well, if I'm a seller and I have to pay the buyer's agent commission, and I decide that I want to pay a 2% commission, not a 3% commission on the buyer's side, that deters agents and their clients from seeing the property. And my property isn't as desirable as a 3% commission property for a buyer's agent. And they have data to prove that they have agents that advise their buyers, maybe subconsciously or not telling them or not telling them, but one way or another, steering them away from lower price commission homes.
I feel like buyers are pretty savvy. I don't agree with that, because buyers will, if they see a home that they want to see,
that's what I said,
and they have an agent who doesn't want to show it to them, they'll find another agent who does. And also, it'll also help filter out some of the bad agents. Because if you're a good buyer's agent, like I've always said this, and I've been saying it over and over again, we don't do this for the commission anymore. We do this for the bigger picture. So I feel that the bad buyer's agents will be filtered out, and the good agents will be out there representing their buyers on lower commission or lower commission priced homes, because at the end of the day, it's always about the bigger picture.
Yeah.
And
but not everyone knows that.
And agents who don't, well, they're going to be filtered out.
Correct.
And the agents who know that, they will be the successful agents, and they will be able to capitalize on that.
I agree.
Well, in addition to that, buyers don't need agents to find them properties in today's.
No.
So that's
like
that's the disconnect.
That's not our job, is to locate properties for our buyers. Our
Exactly.
buyers already know what they
Correct.
want, what they're looking. They're shopping online.
Going
It's
to
our
open
job
houses.
to facilitate that transaction
Correct.
and protect them from, you know, the
Exactly.
unknown harms. And
Correct. And, you know, it's funny. They say if this does pass, this lawsuit, and they eliminate having sellers are obligated through NAR to put in a commission for a buyer's agent, immediately they will lose 1 million real estate agents. Immediately, the next day, 1 million agents will be wiped off completely.
Buyer's agents.
Buyer's agents. Think about 1 million.
as much as I'm for, you know, reducing the agent population, I don't think that would be the right way to reduce it.
I completely agree.
I do feel like they're going to find other ways, though, to offset that commission. You know, they'll bring in they'll have the price a little bit higher, or they'll put it into the closing costs. They'll put it onto the back end.
Well, they're already dealing with this in other states. Some
Yeah.
states have already enacted this.
Yeah.
And they're having to fight for their commission. And I think it's funny. It's like every industry. There's a couple bad apples that ruin it for everybody. Because I generally agree with Chris. I think a buyer's agent is so instrumental to the process. And if they are true buyer's agents like Stacie, you bring so much value to the transaction. Most of her clients probably would not have gotten the homes that they're in currently today if it wasn't Stacie negotiating hard to get them in the properties versus 10 other offers that were, stacked up on there. So I think at one point this is very important, and I think that there's something that needs to be cleaned up, but I think this is going to pass. Yeah. I think ultimately this will pass, and we're going to have to find creative ways to be able to put a commission for buyer's agents, because I think initially what's going to happen, you're going to see the pendulum swing really hard to the left, where it's going to be like, paying nothing. I'm going to pay nothing. And then all of a sudden you're going to see that backlash.
Realize that doesn't work.
That doesn't work. And you're going to start seeing it kind of veer the other way. And it's like, hey, I'll give you some. And then I think it's going to go all the way back almost to the middle again, because they see the value in it. I mean, people are going to get wiped off so quick.
I feel like there's going to be a whole bunch of gray. So let me give you the scenario. So a buyer's agent is going to write an offer for their buyer and to a seller. There's no buyer's commission.
Correct.
So in the offer, they ask the seller, the buyer agent asks the seller to pay them a 2% commission. The seller comes back on a counter and says, no, I'm not doing that.
Okay.
You still want your client to get the home.
Correct.
So like, what's that scenario? Do you still do it? Do you do it for free? What happens if your buyer doesn't have a lot of money?
What I don't like is the seller already has access to what your buyer's offer will be when determining whether they're going to pay the commission.
Mm-hmm.
It's
because
also
you've
true.
already given them up. You've already given up.
Correct.
There's so much gray here.
There's a lot of gray here.
So
You're
they're
right.
like, okay, great. I've already got this. Like, the seller's has the upper hand in deciding whether or not he
Yes,
wants to pay. But
exactly.
like he already sees an exciting offer, or she, they, why do I need to pay you? You've already given me what I need.
They're gonna
Exactly.
they're gonna say this. They're gonna say your buyer should be paying your commission if you want to write an offer on this
What
property.
happens if they
Out of
don't?
what
they-
proceeds?
I mean, they don't have proceeds. They're sometimes first-time
So
home buyers.
what I think it might
who
be out of the back
all their
end.
money is going to be their down payment.
So I'm thinking it might be on the back end. So out of the price that we offer on this property, there'll be $5,000 that goes back to the buyer's agent.
But what happens if the home doesn't appraise for that?
These are going to be problems that we run into. But I just feel that the greedy seller in the scenario think he has the upper hand, doesn't realize the value in an agent.
I feel like the
I don't
seller
think
always
that-
has the power, and I hate that. I'm a buyer's agent, so I mean, yes, I'm a listing agent too, but I am very, very buyer strong, and I just hate that the seller always has all the power.
You know, you got something I want.
It's just that's the climate we're in now, but
know.
I imagine at some point it'll shift.
It always
But
shifts.
I also don't think they're seeing what a transaction looks like without both parties negotiating.
Correct.
They don't have a vision of what that is.
Yeah.
A seller, especially.
And that's lawsuits in itself. You know,
Yeah.
I can see it right now. A seller suing a listing agent based on, like, who knows? Like, it could be an assortment of different things.
The buyer wasn't protected.
But-
Nobody protected the buyer. Nobody had a home inspection performed. Nobody interpreted that home inspection, determined the house was on septic and needed additional. Like,
Correct.
there's so many different layers, especially now with fire, safety.
Oh my gosh,
and
that
like,
was not a meeting. That meeting was nuts.
Thank you, Lucia.
She scared us all.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there are a lot
I
of...
think it'll be a really sad day when that happens.
I think it will be a sad day, but as there's commission compression, as there's AI and Zillow and all these new companies that are coming in to disrupt our industry, I think this is something that we just need to adapt and act as if it's already happening to prepare now, because if we can do that, the day it does happen, we're already above the rest. So when everyone's having this conversation that we're having today, we've already put things into place where we're taking advantage while other people are still, circling the wagons.
Sure.
So I think it's something that we should start addressing and focusing on what we would do if that did occur. So
Yeah,
anyways.
that makes me sad. I mean, I go to the ends of the earth for my buyers.
You
Ends
do.
of the earth.
You do. Maybe you should fly out to the lawsuit and be one of the people. Because
Right.
You probably should.
I'm being serious. I was just reading. They have different agents that are going up to testify on their different scenarios of why they justified or not
It's
justified.
not even about me either. Like this makes me sad for the buyers.
Well, no, and I was going to say that, like, as buyer strong as you are right now, like, I'm pretty seller strong, and even I don't support an unrepresented buyer for me. I
Correct.
feel like that opens up so much more liability on myself and my sellers.
Yeah.
Like, having a buyer not proper, like,
It's nuts. It's a can of worms that we don't even want to play around with right now. Eventually we will, though. All right. Well, we're going to wrap this up today. We had some really good topics today. This went on quite long. This is a nice little 45-minute podcast. We really got in.
It's 24 minutes.
Oh, what time did we start? I thought we started at 3. We started at 3:20? Oh, shit. I was looking at my clock, and I was like, damn.
I'm like, actually, this just felt really short.
Oh, did it?
I'm like, I'm not done.
Oh. Well, honestly, I thought we started at 3, so when I saw 3:41, I was thinking of his film time and his batteries go down. So I was like, he's probably thinking in his mind, like, let's go, Eric.
I thought you just didn't like the way the conversation
Yeah, me
was going.
too.
I'm like,
I was
I'm
like,
sorry.
Oh,
Did
no.
we not do a good job, Chris?
No, we suck.
You guys suck. Cut this shit. You guys.
Maybe we need to get Sadie back in here. She tends to make everyone laugh. That's stupid.
You guys are good. No, we can definitely continue on.
Did we catch you off guard?
No.
What do you want to talk about, Stacie?
I don't know.
No. You didn't catch me off guard. I literally was looking at the clock, and I thought this was 40 minutes.
I know.
You guys stop it. Gosh, damn. I don't have any other topics, though.
Hey, Chris, what do you want to talk about?
By the way, I mean, in our reality, this is a free-form podcast. Like, what do you guys, what topics do you guys see out there right now that are affecting you, that you guys are struggling with, that you guys see in the horizon? Like, what is it?
I think it's just getting the message out there. I feel like the media just really scares everybody off. And I've had so many conversations about, just getting the deal. But then I have a lot of clients like, well, maybe it's not good time for me to sell. Like, what do you say to people like that when they say, I just don't think it's a good time to sell?
No, I can't make that decision for them. You know, it's really got to be something that's right for them and their goals and their family. I just like to provide them the information and help them in that decision making. However, I think the only thing that keeps me up at night is, as agents, I know you are as well, but we're really in tune to, especially now as little inventory as there is, just very in tune to seller representation and listings that are hitting the market. And it just burns me to see these amazing listings with very little marketing, like poor representation. And it's just like, oh my gosh.
It's like, why did they pick that? Why?
I know.
I don't get it. Or when someone chooses to use another buyer's agent, I'm like, but when I showed you the house, I provided you so much value, and the other person's just going to write you a contract and say, peace out. Yeah,
the consequences are so much more significant now, not having success at that first launch of the property. So I just think it's, for sellers, it's just really, really important to choose the right agent. The outcomes are drastically different. And I feel like that's the message that I really want to get across to sellers right now is the swing on net proceeds in your pocket from one agent to another. And
yeah, no, I agree with you. I feel like a lot of agents don't do what you do. You right out of the gates, like the very first launch, it's so hard. You always have interest and offers within the first 6, 7 to 10 days. And you'll see another listing, that is a beautiful home. And it's like, because I've seen nothing. I've seen no marketing. I've seen no video. I've seen nothing.
It's because it's financial at that point. They don't have the finances to really expose the home, in my opinion, because
the listing agent doesn't.
Correct. Because they don't have 10 listings that support it. They have the one, and things are tight right now.
Yeah, and that's why the seller should have looked at their report card and saw that they've only done a certain amount of deals.
I've always said there should be something that we give to our sellers.
We do.
Oh, these are the 5 questions that you should ask me and every next listing agent that comes through this door.
That's a good idea.
That's a huge one. What's your resume?
That is great.
Here's 5 questions I want you to ask me.
Ask me, and the next people that walk through this door.
The other people that you interview, ask them the same question.
Correct. What are your past sales in the last year? Not your brokerage. What are your past sales?
Even from a buyer's agent perspective.
Oh yeah.
When I go to meet them, like say I get a Zillow call and I'm meeting them at the house, I'm like, okay, here's 5 questions. Asking me these 5 questions, and then if you guys decide to work with anybody else, ask that agent the same 5 questions.
Correct.
No, that's great.
I think that's a really great opening.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice job, Eric.
I mean, I've said this
Eric,
for a
you're
long
hired.
time.
Yeah.
Done. We can cut this. I just got hired.
So should we go into chat, GD, whatever that's called?
Chat GPT?
Yeah, and figure out our 5 questions. What would be your 5 questions?
Oh, gosh. I would need time with that.
Well, my first one would be your past sales.
Yeah, obviously your past sales.
Your past sales. Okay. The next one would be, here are my past 5 clients that I did a deal with. Here are their numbers, and here are their names.
That I do.
Yeah.
You could please call them and get an idea of what their experience was with me. The next would be, what is your marketing strategy? I want to see a detailed analysis of what your marketing strategy looks like.
Do you have a marketing deck?
We have a marketing deck.
No, that's a question.
Oh, yes.
For them to ask us. Do you have a marketing deck? Yeah.
Correct. And then
I want to see their performance. I want to see their past sales.
Performance is the biggest one.
Number one.
Well, that's how you narrow yourself out, because the whole point is to narrow yourself out with these questions. So,
and not even just sales where they're located, because you probably sometimes go up against agents that are not even from the local area. Yeah. And you want to, if they're doing deals out somewhere in Lancaster, it's like, okay, so that's another good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see comps.
Correct.
And past sales in comparison to those comps.
Correct. I think that's a good one.
Are you performing above or below the
purchase price?
Your average. Your average list price received. All this data.
And days on market.
Days on market.
What is your average days on market as an agent?
I guarantee.
And I encourage you to go check my data.
No, I guarantee you put that question plus your past sales, and they ask another agent, not you. It'll be just straight deer in headlights, because no one knows these numbers. No one knows what their average days on the market is. They know what they're in general, but when you say 10 and they ask the next agent, I can guarantee you on my mom's life almost, their response is going to be 25. 25, thinking it's a good number, under 30, and you're 10. So, I mean, you're already separating yourself immediately from everybody else.
Such a brilliant idea.
Yep.
I'm going to start working on that right away.
Me too. Yeah.
Write it down.
Yeah, that's great. You do one for listing, I'll do one for buyer,
Yep.
and then we'll swap.
Yep.
Have
I'll
you
do
guys?
yours, and we'll each have each other's.
I don't know if you guys know about this, and I don't know about. I was trying to research it right now when you guys were quickly talking. There's this new program they're putting through, 5% down for new home buyers. Have you guys heard anything about this?
No.
Okay. Well, I couldn't find it either, but we talked about it this morning.
Yeah, I was confused
Wait,
on what
say
that was.
again? There's a loan what?
It's supposed to be this new loan program that they're putting through. I think it's a CalHalf. No, not a CalHalf.
It was for multifamily, right?
It's
up
a
to
multifamily
1.3?
Fannie Mae package, conventional, 5% down.
And I think the motivation was for payment shock or the affordability of making a purchase in today's climate to encourage you to buy a multifamily, occupy one, and allow the others to compensate.
That's what it was.
Oh, interesting.
So if you buy a quadplex and you occupy one and rent the other 3 out, mathematically, what does that do to your affordability for that investment?
Totally. Fascinating.
Yeah, there's not a lot of verbiage on it or
should ask
literature, I
Monica about
guess. Yeah, you should ask Monica. I think she'd be going to ask. It was so funny. The guy talking about it this morning thought it was like proprietary information. He's like, yeah, I really shouldn't be giving this information out. We only know about it ourselves, but
It's like a drug dealer?
it's like, you're in a mastermind. Give us your info. Like, what is this? As he's talking about like sharing info, I was dying. Okay, so
I got one more thing.
yeah.
I think everybody should be digging through, finding their note, and determining whether or not their loan is assumable or not.
Yes, that's such a good point.
So we found that out today. If it's an adjustable loan, it's
If you have a variable rate mortgage or you
That's
have
what
an
it is.
FHA or a VA loan, chances are great that you're on an assumable loan. So if you, let's say, my Banyan property was the first property that I had with an assumable loan.
Did the buyers assume it?
They ended up not, but with interest rates where they are, it's
Why didn't they assume it?
the buyer had different motivation.
Oh.
But if you have like a 2.5% interest rate on a $700,000 loan amount that you've been paying on for 7 or 8 years, and a buyer can assume that, and they can bridge that gap with a second or funds out of pocket. You know what that does to the markability of your property, the desirability of your property, and what does that do to the value of your property? That I don't know, but I can tell you that we had more success at Banyan. I had nearly 200 people at an open house because we marketed with an adjustable rate mortgage.
Wow.
So buyers came out of the woodwork excited about the opportunity to walk into a property and assume a very low interest rate.
correct.
So start digging. Find out, if your loan's an adjustable, and if it is, give me a call.
Yeah, you know what? And plus, Chris and Stacie, I actually said this today over in LA. In my opinion, what I would do is I would go through all my past clients over the last 5 years, and I would figure out what type of loans they have, and I'd reach out to them and be like, hey, did you know that you have this? Because if you don't, you do have this.
Yep.
I'm not saying you want to sell, but in the future, over the next couple of years, if it does cross your mind, you have an assumable loan, so you are actually in a much better position versus all the other sellers in the market. And then you want to go one step further, you want to be really fucking hungry, you go to your lender and you say, hey, the last 2 years, or not 2 years, go back 5 years, all the loans that you did that were for VAs, whatever it may be, can I have those? Can I reach out to these people and let them know, educate them that they're in a better situation? I mean, there are so many ways you could attack this if you really wanted to. And in my opinion, sellers don't know. They don't understand it. But once they do, they're like, oh, okay, this actually makes sense. This is actually good for me. So that's my 2 cents on it.
I think we're going to start hearing a lot more of assumable.
You're going to have to,
options
especially at high
right now
percentage
where we're at.
rates. Yeah, I completely agree. All right. Well, we are now wrapping up. Great conversations. Actually, I feel like the best part of our conversation happened after my actual planned segment today. So love the acapella. I love it. So thanks for tuning in. I want to thank Chris Fox for being a guest on the show today. I also want to thank Stacie Crumbaker as well for being a guest. You guys are amazing. You bring great content. Follow them on social media. Stacie Crumbaker, sold by Fox. And for all you guys, make sure you subscribe below. Make sure you leave some comments. And we're going to see you guys all next week. Cheers.